Hey there everyone, I'm Jakejames Lugo and welcome to the channel where you'll find some of the most fair and honest game reviews out here. And today we're talking Marvel, more specifically the Guardians of the Galaxy game from Eidos Montreal. I've been wanting to get to this for quite a while and a lot of people have told me various different things about it, but only now most recently, well after its release, I finally get to sit down and see if this game is actually living up to the hype that it's garnered. Even if you're not a big fan of comics or follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you hear about the Guardians of the Galaxy a lot these days. Besides the movies, there was a Guardians of the Galaxy game by Telltale Games a while back, but honestly, it was just an okay game, not one of Telltale's best. But the group has been in other games here and there, thanks to the success of the MCU movies. This leads us to Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy from Eidos Montreal. It's a third-person action game that tries its best to distance itself from other versions of the team, yet borrows a few things that made them so appealing. You play as Star-Lord, the self-proclaimed leader of the group, and the team rounds off with Gamora, Drax the Destroyer, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot in a story mode that lasts around 16 chapters, 17 if you count the prologue. The plot finds the Guardians getting in trouble with the Nova Corps and caught in the midst of a galactic takeover from a mysterious alien and a religious cult. It's a wild ride through the cosmic parts of the Marvel Universe, with some nods to recognizable Marvel characters. But while the fan service is strong here, does that also mean there's a fun game in here for everybody to enjoy?
It'll be fine, just curl up in a ball.
What?
Drax, throw him.
No!
Very well.
Peter?
It's okay, he'll land on his feet. I guess that only applies to cats.
You sons of dogs! Scut-busting ass!
I am not familiar with these words.
Filthy grunt scum, but
I think he's making them up. He's really pissed.
You can rot, you free-bagging flarkhole!
At least he's not shooting at us. He missed on purpose, right?
Order the beast to do its job.
Rocket, come on, man.
So the harsh truth here is that even though the game tries very hard to make this an original interpretation of the Guardians of the Galaxy and really separate it from every other iteration we've seen of the team so far, there's no getting away from the fact that this is still heavily inspired by the MCU. And if it really wasn't for the success of those movies, we really wouldn't be getting this game, let alone any other game interpretation of the Guardians. But if I put all of that to the side just for a second and focus on what the game presents to me, I really love the banter between all the members of the team. It's really funny just hearing some of the back and forth between Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, Gamora, Drax the Destroyer. Whenever the team is together and you're moving around different areas, some of their little side conversations are genuinely funny. I think the writing and the dialogue between them is really freaking good. If anything, it's really those side conversations that really outshine the main plot of the game. I really don't feel that the story that you get here through all the stages really was executed as well, as opposed to all the dialogue and the random conversations and just back and forth between characters. That's the main reason why you're playing this game and why you're being stringed along every single chapter. However, there is one thing I do have to say about the visuals of this game. I feel like, at least on the console that I played it on, the visuals weren't all that great. A lot of the characters, especially in the close-up and medium shots, look kind of dead-eyed. They look kind of just like lifeless in some instances, while in others, especially pulled back from a distance, the characters look a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more lifelike, and for whatever reason, it just comes off like that. I don't know why. Maybe it's a little bit better on other consoles, but when I was playing it on the Xbox Series S, it just looked weird, especially during that huddle scene when everybody comes in and they're looking at the camera. They just don't look that, well, you know, they don't look that great. They just look kind of weird and awkward. But of course, the big thing here that everybody wants me to talk about is the gameplay, because that part of the game really received a lot of praise. But did it actually live up to what everybody was saying, or was it kind of meh? So my biggest hang-up about Guardians of the Galaxy is that I feel the gameplay is overrated. It's not bad per se, but nothing that special or super interesting. And to be honest, the larger issues in here have more to do with technical problems rather than what you're actually doing. Guardians is a third-person action game with a few flying sections mixed in. The majority of the time you're exploring places and fighting groups of enemies and bosses. There's a few spots where you give orders to the team to help solve simple puzzles and reach new areas. It all gets super repetitive, but it's broken up by cutscenes and random dialogue choices that you make every now and then. In combat, you only have control over Star-Lord, but you can use the other Guardians to attack enemies with an assortment of abilities. I would have loved to switch between the different characters and control them, but it's not a huge loss for me as long as everything else is good. However, the combat could be a mess on screen as more enemies show up. Things could get very chaotic and the camera could get obscured. Star-Lord has multiple blaster types that are good for hurting enemies and solving puzzles, which is pretty neat. There's even a huddle ability that gives everybody a boost in power for a brief period of time during battles. However, it does take a while to open up all of your abilities as you progress the story and upgrade at nearby workstations. There's also a leveling system that unlocks new abilities for each Guardian as you win battles. You gain experience by chaining attacks together in combos with everyone working together. However, you're not going to be grinding for levels like in an RPG. There's a fixed amount of encounters in the game within each chapter, and by the time you reach the end, you should be close to max level with everybody. To me, this felt out of place. You're not getting any stats or increasing your power of your attacks. I would rather have no leveling at all and unlock new abilities for everyone as I progress the story and just explore new places I visit in full. The EXP and leveling just feels like an extra layer here. Some people might like this, but I honestly feel like we didn't need it.
That was it? Belief didn't shield them from that!
Now remember those technical problems I mentioned? This is where I feel the game really falls apart. I played Guardians on the Xbox Series S, and I ran into many different bugs and glitches throughout. You'll see some of it in the gameplay I show you now, but there was a lot more that happened throughout my experience. The bugs I ran into included things like button props not executing properly after I hit them, characters teleporting randomly in front of me, combat sections that couldn't end because random enemies would bug out or disappear completely, and so much more beyond that. Even worse was how I had a few times where the game crashed on me completely, forcing me to restart or replay sections I already finished. This kind of stuff really sucks and bogs down the whole experience. Any fun that I was having up to that point was completely shot and left me massively disappointed.
Find the one room that seems to connect to every other room on this ship.
This place has many mysteries! Let's finish these guys so Gobbles can get it through here!
It's Gubbins! Gubbins! You didn't mean it, little guy!
If you've been following me on various social media platforms like Twitter, which you should follow by the way if you haven't already, you know I've been very vocal about my dismay playing this game on the Xbox Series S. I had such a terrible time and a terrible experience trying to run this game on the console because my console just kept turning off or crashing to my dashboard. A lot of people hit me back up when I put it out there saying like, oh, it could be a hardware problem, my console had no issues whatsoever, and I decided to test this out. I decided to try out other games on my console since I haven't really had it for a long time. I played games like Halo Infinite, Doom Eternal, Phantasy Star, all these other games for an extended period of time. No issues whatsoever. When I put back in Guardians of the Galaxy, played for about 30 or so minutes or just under that, my console shuts off or I get a crash straight back to the dashboard. It was just absolutely shocking. And what sucks about this is that I have to call a spade because I know this game is available on other platforms and there doesn't seem to be a lot of problems like that on there, especially on the PS5. But this is the game version that I'm actually playing. This is the console I'm actually using to play this game, and it's just the way it is. I have to call a spade a spade. If the game crashes on me during my experience, I have to count that towards my review. And I want to like this game so much because so many people have said like it's so good, but there's all these things that I'm noticing between all the technical issues I mentioned before and this type of stuff. There's no getting around it. I really hate to be the bearer of bad news, but nobody else is going to do it apparently. So can I recommend that everybody play Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy on any platform? I'm going to have to say no. And I know that many people won't like that, but I feel that it's overrated and not that good. And as much as I really wanted to like this game, I can't ignore how poorly it performed in my experience. If you're a Marvel fan that just wants to play everything Marvel related, then I'd say you should play this game on the PlayStation consoles. Do not get it for any Xbox Series console whatsoever. Playing it on the Xbox Series S was terrible for me with the bugs and crashes that I saw. But even if I remove all of that and just focus on the game itself, I still wouldn't recommend it to everyone. The story is just okay, with the banter between characters being the best part and not the plot itself. The gameplay I found to be very average and is honestly ruined by the technical issues that I mentioned. It sucks that I have to say this, but Guardians of the Galaxy came up short here.
Like you. That's just it, we're not pirates. We're legally incorporated heroes for hire.
Yeah, that's right. You check those records, Buckethead. Novacore licensing permit 67398-2.
Gardeners of the Galaxy?
What? No. Rocket.
So I let Groot fill out the paperwork. I fixed it with an addendum.
Not the most well-known heroes you could hire, but definitely in the top 5 of most awesome names.
So yeah, everyone, those are my thoughts about Guardians of the Galaxy, or Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever you want to call it. It's such a damn shame because I've seen so many people say this game is great, and you guys know I love Marvel. You could tell I love Marvel stuff, and I really wanted to like this. But all the things that just kept appearing to me and just kept popping up here and there just ruined my experience or really bogged it down for the most part. And it sucks when that happens because nobody ever really wants to hate on a game. Nobody ever really wants to say that a game is terrible. But when you got all these different things that are just there, even though other people might have had better experiences, it's your experience at the end of the day that counts. And that's the way I kind of look at it. So this game just didn't do it for me. But of course, like any other game that I review on this channel, that's just my opinion about Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Let me know your own thoughts about this game down below in the comments section. Tell me, are you a big Marvel fan? Do you love the Guardians of the Galaxy? Do you wish this game was more kind of like Avengers or vice versa? Tell me about some of your favorite Marvel games, and you can't say Marvel vs. Capcom. I'm not counting those fighting games like this. Talk to me about stuff like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which is like a really big one for people. Marvel Spider-Man on PS4 and PS5, or Miles Morales. Any stuff like that. Tell me about that stuff down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. I appreciate your support and your patience with me for getting these videos out. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications if you could too. It helps out the channel a ton. You could also join my Discord server via the link in the description box in order to be part of the community we have there. And don't forget about my Patreon too. There's a ton of exclusive gaming content from me that you'll get just by joining up for just $1 a month. Definitely check it out when you can. Thanks again for everything. Peace out, and stay epic, everyone.